From the 1910s into the early 1930s, more than 5,300 school buildings were constructed in African American communities throughout 15 southern states. It was the unlikely partnership between black ex-slave Booker T. Washington, who headed the Tuskegee Institute, and Jewish immigrant Julius Rosenwald, who was an executive at Sears and Roebuck, that built these schools that would dramatically further the education of African American students. These school buildings, known as Rosenwald schools, are not only landmarks in the history of African American education, but a source of immense pride for its alumni.
Our teachers taught not between the lines, but outside the book. And they provided things they could have brought from home or had us bring from home or to make up for those things. But we had wonderful literature classes, chemistry, biology. We did current events from the newspaper, having to read. So we were up on just about everything that was going on. And they made sure, somewhere between home and school, that was a great connection.
It was a learning experience because our biggest majority of the people in my class, they didn't go to college. Some of us went to the military. And they wound up very, very good in their life up forward. I mean, they wound up with good academic or good jobs or good lives, the majority of our class. So it said something about what we were taught in those days.
The Covington Rosenwald School underwent many changes throughout the years. Recollections from alumni have its humble beginnings as two wooden buildings eventually torn down to make way for a brick building that would later include cafeteria, gymnasium, library, music room, shop, band room, classrooms, and of course a principal's office. And it was there that the determination and drive to educate young people made teacher and principal James A. Harrison, lovingly known to all as Professor, place Covington Rosenwald School forever in the hearts of its students. Dr. Elton Harrison, his 96-year-old son, recalls his father as a no-nonsense principal.
He was a determined fellow. He considered himself, he was in charge of the school, he was really in charge of it. Nobody else would take charge. And then at that time, there were some members of the black community, they called themselves, I don't remember what they called them, superintendent or something, but anyway, they ran the school. So my father met with them, he said, now this is the last time you meet him. See, I'm in charge of this school. And when I need community help, I'm gonna come to you.
But I remember Professor Harrison, hearing about him, and in awe of this man that everybody said, you know, they always, because he was such a small person in stature, but evidently he had a big voice or something, because they said he would yell down, hey little girl, hey little boy, you know, and get your attention.
You kind of feared him a little bit as far as education. I mean, he had a way that if he caught you roaming around the hall, so forth and so forth. He had respect. He had a respect that you wouldn't talk back to him. If he said something, you did what he had to say.
As a principal, Professor Harrison was indeed a strong authority figure, yet he was also a great teacher.
He was a mathematician, and he made certain that all of them knew how to work mathematics. They'd come to his house at night and give them math problems to work with, you know. When they went on to Southern, they succeeded. They had high scores in mathematics. Oh, that's what my father wanted to show.
He was just all about education and going forward with your life.
My father was committed to serving the people. He was committed to them.
And it's this very community that he served that petitioned the school board in 1990 to name the Covington Rosenwald School in memory of Professor James A. Harrison, a fitting tribute to this dedicated educator.
We needed something to remember, honor Professor Harrison, because he had seen the building of Rosenwald. He had seen the organization of it, getting the first faculty together. And for it to still be standing. And then we were seeing a lot of other communities tearing down these old buildings, you know, and we wanted to preserve it as something. And we knew if they named it and used it as something important, the building would remain and the memories would remain.
And now, 13 years later, we rededicate this facility in honor of Professor James A. Harrison, a pioneer in the education of African Americans in the Covington community, whose legacy will continue to live on, not only in the hearts and minds of its alumni, but to all who enter its hallowed halls.
My father would really be pleased to know that the building that he was instrumental in is still being cared for by the people.
For the school system to understand how important that was to our community, I really appreciate that, and we're just so impressed with what they've done, because, you know, for them not only to renovate it, but to make it so beautiful, you know, but it still has its presence of what we remember. It's still there. They didn't erase what we know. They just made it better.